Back to my channel, Nash Vegas Paracord. Sorry it's been a while. We do have a special guest here. This is Oreo. He is going to help me on making our project today. So everybody say hi to Oreo. You will probably see his paws as he attempts to help me keep the paracord straight. So our project today is we're going to do a tricolor paracord bracelet in what they call the fishtail weave. Here is an example of one I've made. And the three colors I chose were camouflage, tan, and black. And they go in an alternating pattern, which makes a really nice bracelet to wear. So that's the project we're going to make. And now you're going to need a supply list for what we're going to make. You're going to need 3 strands of 550 paracord. For your primary strand, you're going to need a 5-foot segment. And for your 2 secondary strands, you're going to need 4-foot segments. Now there's going to be a little waste at the end, but I always like to have a little bit more paracord to work with than not enough and you're trying to stretch it at the end. You're going to need your bracelets, or your buckles, I'm sorry. You're going to need a jig. If you don't feel comfortable in making a jig, Hobby Lobby does have jigs very similar to this. You're going to need a lighter or a torch. I've started using a torch and I really like it. I'm going to probably do a video just on how to use a torch on paracord in the near future. So go ahead, if you don't have your supplies ready, go ahead and hit pause and then get your supplies and then come back and we'll start making the bracelet. Okay, so now we're ready to start making our project. I'm going to make my primary color black. My secondary color will be this neon green, and my third color will be this neon yellow. And as you can see, they do make a good blend when they're put together. So our first step is to put our buckles on our jig. And I'm going to put the buckles on upside down because I like to build these bracelets from an upside down perspective. If you want to work on it right side up, you can, but this is the way I like to make my bracelets. Now, somebody had made a comment on one of my earlier videos about why I use frayed ends. And basically at that point in my earlier videos, I never thought about go ahead and singeing my ends before I do anything with them. So for this case, I am going to go ahead and just singe my ends on all my paracord just to make life a little easier. Using the torch, I'm going to just go ahead and tap the ends down. All good and tamp down. And sometimes when you do have some extra over like this, sometimes it's easier just to cut it. Okay, so now all the ends are now singed. Okay, so we're going to take our primary segment, and this is what's going to build the backbone for our bracelet. And this is pretty much standard like any other paracord bracelet. We're going to build our loop. Which is done by Getting our cord even, bringing it through. And we're going to pull it over just like that. Okay? So we're going to go through and over. And then we're going to come up through the bottom on our other side, just like that. Pretty much like every other paracord bracelet starts. It's going to all start the same. So always double check that your ends are almost even, or pretty much even. And now we're going to start building the fishtail weave, which is going to start with our first color, and we're going to do one weave, and then we're going to add our other colors. So what you're going to do is start either from your left or from your right. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to start from my left. I'm going to start with the left side. I'm going to go under, and then on my right side I'm going to go under, and I'm going to bring them over. And as we build on, one important thing with this weave is to always make sure your knots are tight and consistent, because if not, sometimes you'll notice your bracelet will start out and then you'll get loose and it'll go wide and then it'll come in, and you really want to have your bracelet look as even as possible as you go through. So that was our first weave here. We're now going to take our secondary color, which is, we're going to do the neon green. We're going to make sure that we have our edges even. We're going to make a loop. And we're going to come around the back like this. And we're going to make the same weave. We're going to take this in through. And we're going to bring this in through. And we're going to tighten it. And it's will kind of make sense here in just a moment what we're doing. But the key is really getting all this started and getting it set up. And then we're going to take our neon yellow. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to bring it around, even it up. And then we're going to bring our left side in. And our right side in. And now that we got everything in, we're going to make sure we got everything nice and tight. And if you look, our pattern is beginning to make shape. So now we're going to start with our black, which is our first. We're going to bring over here, bring it under, bring our other side under. Now just tighten everything at the end of every weave. Our second color is green, so we're going to bring our green through. And then our last color is the yellow, so we're going to bring our yellow through. And we're going to tighten it up. And sometimes you can kind of push up a little bit as you do your weave as well. And we're just going to follow this pattern all the way through till we get to the end. So we're going to do black, we're going to do green, and we're going to do yellow. And we're going to tighten it up, push it up a little bit. And we just repeat the pattern all over and over and over again. So we're going to go black, we're going to go green, and we're going to do yellow. Now also, I just want to say while we're doing this, that right now, I have 100 subscribers. I'd love to have a lot more subscribers. So if you're watching this and you really like what I'm doing, go ahead and hit subscribe. I promise you I'm going to have some new videos in the very near future. I'm going to try not to have as long a delay between videos as I've had in the past. And also, if you have any suggestions for a bracelet you would like to see, please, in the comments, add what sort of weave you'd like to see me do. And I will try to figure it out and maybe add that to a future video. So, as you see, the weave is very easy. And the key is just keeping your pattern as you are. And just keeping it good and tight as you work your way through to the video, through the bracelet. And there are variations to this as well, where you could stop and add a color in the middle and then pick up and add a color at the end. I've seen those, and there are videos out there on how to do that, but I like this tricolor bracelet, and if you wanted to add 4 colors, I'm sure you could. You know, that's one of the nice things I like about Paracord is you just kind of have fun with it. And we're just going to continue this on up till we get to the end. And again, I can't say this enough, but as you go through, always keep making sure that you've got everything good and tight, because as you're weaving and you're doing things, sometimes it's very easy for things to get loose. So always go back. If you want to, you can kind of roll it just to make sure everything's good and tight as you're going through. Okay, so now we've got our primary weave is all finished. Gone through, kind of made sure, and you can pull, like I said, you can kind of roll just to make sure everything's good and tight. And also another thing you can do is you can undo this from the jig, check your other end just to make sure that it looks the way you want it. And if it's not tight enough, you can always just kind of go back to each color and start pulling and pulling and get everything as good and tight as you want. But since we do make our bracelets backwards, it's always good to check the top, because I see some gaps here. And what I'm going to have to do is just go through and start picking the colors and getting it nice and tight. So once you get the bracelet nice and tight and where you want it, our next step will be finishing off the bracelet. Okay, now so we've now got the bracelet all finished. We've got everything nice and tight the way we want it. It all looks pretty in trim. So the last thing we have to do is finish up the cord and then tie it off and melt it to the end. So as we had ended with yellow, and we've got just a little bit of room. So what we want to do is we want to take the black, and we want to take the black through one more time. Just like this. Okay. And then we're going to take our green and our yellow. We're going to bring it back up underneath that last loop that we made. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to bring the green and the yellow up underneath that last black loop. And then we're going to tighten it all down, like so. Make sure we have everything just the way we want it before we melt. So now that you have these where you want it, and you've got them tucked under, you're going to go ahead and take your scissors, and we're going to cut. We want to leave a little bit so we can make our button. So what we want to do, we're going to take our torch, and we're going to come, just melt that in. Just going to touch it. And all I'm doing is I'm touching the side with this just to flatten it out, and as it dries it actually melts itself to the other side and just makes the bracelet one. And if you ever needed to take the bracelet apart, if you needed the paracord, all you have to do is pick it apart there at the button and the whole bracelet comes unraveled. So we're going to take our cord and we're going to melt. So now all we have left is our black cord. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and take this off the jig. And what we want to do is we want to take this black cord and we just want to wrap it back around itself right here. I'm going to bring this one back down. Just want to tighten that in. And we want to cut our edges. Nice and tightened up. Take our torch. Put our button in. Oops. That one did not go in right. One thing, if you do melt paracord, do not just immediately go back and touch it right after the fact, because it is hot. Didn't do that in too well. Sorry about that, folks. And there you go. Okay, sorry about the singed area a little bit. Sometimes it happens with paracord. But anyway, hope you got the gist. This is what the final product looks like. And the one thing is once you do put it on your wrist, you're really not going to see that part because it's all going to be on the bottom. Here it is on my wrist. Hope you enjoyed it. Want to give you a preview of what some other things I have coming real soon. One is instead of just making a paracord bracelet that's just all paracord, this is a bracelet that has a piece of wood in the middle with a symbol on it, and we'll talk about that in another video. And here is a variation of the fish tail using just two colors in split paracord, and we'll do a video on that real soon. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, hit like at the bottom. If you didn't like something I did, leave a nice comment on the bottom and explain how maybe I could have done it better. Nasty comments do get immediately deleted. Please hit the subscribe button, and hopefully very, very soon we will pick up our next project. Thank you for watching.